Today is Friday, January 30th, 2026, and this is Read Through the Bible.
And actually, we're recording this on Thursday because...
Right, because today I'm going to our grandkids in 2 hours away from here.
Yep.
And I'll spend the day with them, and then...
In Bloomington.
In Bloomington, yep. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to drive to Ames, Iowa.
For a baby shower.
Yep, because there's a baby shower for Hannah on Saturday.
Yeah.
And then my plan is to come home Saturday night.
Yeah.
So...
We'll be
got a full couple of days and a lot of driving ahead.
Yeah, be at church for the chili cook-off
Right.
that we have coming on Sunday.
Right.
Okay, but we are reading here in 1 Chronicles chapter 12 and 13. And 12 has a bunch more of these men, the thousands who joined David in order to give the kingdom. He's going to be made kingdom over all Israel. In chapter 11, he was made king over Hebron. And in chapter 12, you look at verse 38, it says, to make David king over all Israel is what's going to happen.
Yep.
Yep.
So there was kind of two stages there for his...
Yep. Okay, here we go, chapter 12. Now these are the men who came to David at Ziklag while he could not move about freely because of Saul, the son of Kish. And you said that this was a flashback. Right here, right?
Right.
So this is kind of, this Saul died in 1 Kings chapter 10, but now they're kind of bringing it back to that point. And they're among the mighty men who helped him in war. They were bowmen who could shoot arrows and sling stones with either the right or the left hand. They were Benjaminites, Saul's kinsmen. The chief was Ahiezer, then Joash, both sons of Shemaiah of Gibeah, also Jeziel and Pelet, the son of Asmapheth, Barakah, Jehu of Anathoth, Ishmaiah of Gibeon, a mighty man among the 30 and a leader over the 30, Jeremiah, Jehaziel, Johanan, Jozabad of Gedera, Eluzai, Jeremoth, Beliah, Sheremiah, Shephatiah, and the Haruphite, Elkanah, Ishiah, Azarel, Joezer, and Jashobeam, the Kohathites, and Joelah and Zebediah, the sons of Jeroham of Gedor.
From the Gadites, there went over to David at the stronghold in the wilderness mighty and experienced warriors, experts with shield and spear, whose faces were like the faces of lions, and who were swift as gazelles upon the mountains. Ezer, the chief, Obadiah second, Eliab third, Mishmanah fourth, Jeremiah fifth, Attai sixth, Eliel seventh, Johanan eighth, Elzabad ninth, Jeremiah 10th, Macbeni 11th. These Gadites were officers of the army. The least was a match for 100 men, and the greatest for 1,000. These are the men who crossed the Jordan in the first month when it was overflowing its banks to put to flight all those in the valleys to the east and to the west. So again, these are just the people who've joined around David back before David was king, when he was fighting Saul.
And some of the men in Benjamin and Judah came to the stronghold to David, and David went out to meet them and said to them, if you have come to me in friendship to help me, my heart will be joined to you. But if to betray me to my adversaries, although there is no wrong in my hands, then may the God of our fathers see and rebuke you. Then the Spirit clothed Amasai, chief of the 30, and he said, we are yours, O David, and with you, O son of Jesse. Peace, peace to you, and peace to your helpers, for your God helps you. Then David received them and made them officers of his troops.
Some of the men of Manasseh deserted to David when he came with the Philistines for battle against Saul. Yet he did not help them, for the rulers of the Philistines took counsel and sent him away, saying, at peril to our heads he will desert to his master Saul. As he went to Ziklag, these men of Manasseh deserted to him. Adnah, Jozabad, Jediel, Michael, Jozabad, Elihu, and Zillethai, chiefs of thousands in Manasseh. They helped David against the band of raiders, for they were all mighty men of valor and were commanders in the army. For from day to day men came to David to help him, until there was a great army, like an army of God.
These are the numbers of the divisions of the armed troops who came to David in Hebron to turn the kingdom of Saul over to him, according to the word of the Lord. The men of Judah, bearing shield and spear, were 6,800 armed troops. Of the Simeonites, mighty men of valor for war, 7,100. Of the Levites, 4,600. The prince Jehoiada of the house of Aaron, and with him 3,700. Zadok, a young man, mighty in valor, and 22 commanders from his own father's house. Of the Benjaminites, the kinsmen of Saul, 3,000, of whom the majority had to that point kept in allegiance to the house of Saul. Of the Ephraimites, 20,800 mighty men of valor, famous men in their fathers' houses. Of the half-tribe of Manasseh, 18,000 who were expressly named to come to make David king. Of Issachar, men who had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do, 200 chiefs and all their kinsmen under their command. Of Zebulun, 50,000 seasoned troops equipped for battle, with all the weapons of war to help David with singleness of purpose. Of Naphtali, 1,000 commanders, with whom were 37,000 men armed with shield and spear. Of the Danites, 28,600 men equipped for battle. Of Asher, 40,000 seasoned troops ready for battle. Of the Reubenites and Gadites and the half-tribe of Manasseh from beyond the Jordan, 120,000 men armed with all the weapons of war.
All these men of war, arrayed in battle order, came to Hebron with a whole heart to make David king over all Israel. Likewise, all the rest of Israel were of a single mind to make David king. And they were there with David for 3 days, eating and drinking, for their brothers had made preparation for them. And also their relatives from as far as Issachar and Zebulun and Naphtali came bringing food on donkeys and on camels and on mules and on oxen, abundant provisions of flour, cakes of figs, clusters of raisins, and wine and oil, oxen and sheep, for there was joy in Israel.
Okay, so again, right, in terms of summary, what this chapter is about, these are the men, these thousands of men who came to David in Hebron to turn the kingdom of Saul over to David.
Right.
Verse 38 says to make David king over all Israel, or verse 23, who came to David in Hebron to turn the kingdom of Saul over to him. So it's sort of a flashback of what's taken place here.
Yeah, and even before that, it's including the men who had gathered around him when he was fleeing from Saul in the wilderness.
Okay, and now we have 1 Chronicles chapter 13, which is very parallel to 2 Samuel chapter 6, I believe, with Uzzah touching the ark and then dying on the spot. David consulted with the commanders of thousands and of hundreds, with every leader, and David said to all the assembly of Israel, "If it seems good to you, and from the Lord our God, let us send abroad to our brothers who remain in all the lands of Israel, as well as the priests and the Levites in the cities that have pasture lands, that they may be gathered to us. Then let us bring again the ark of our God to us, for we did not seek it in the days of Saul." And all the assembly agreed to do so, for the thing was right in the eyes of the people.
Verse 5, so David assembled all Israel from the Nile of Egypt to Lebo-Hamath to bring the ark of God from Kiriath-Jearim. And David and all Israel went up to Baalah, that is to Kiriath-Jearim, that belongs to Judah, to bring up from there the ark of God, which is called by the name of the Lord, who sits enthroned above the cherubim. And they carried the ark of God on a new cart.
All kinds of problems with that. What's the problem?
It shouldn't be on a cart. It should be carried by poles.
Yeah, I think Numbers chapter 4 speaks about just how they need to carry it with poles and not touch the ark even. And these are Kohathites. These guys knew how to handle the instruments.
That's what they're trained in, is how to handle the ark and the other things.
I remember hearing this story for the first time, how it shouldn't be put on a cart, and I was kind of like, what? No, but these guys well knew that it should not be put on a cart.
Right. Let's see.
Verse 7 again.
Verse 7. And they carried the ark of God on a new cart from the house of Abinadab, and Uzzah and Ahio were driving the cart. And David and all Israel were celebrating before God with all their might, with songs and lyres and harps and tambourines and cymbals and trumpets.
And when they came to the threshing floor of Kidon, Uzzah put out his hand to take hold of the ark, for the oxen stumbled. And I know I quoted this when we were in 2 Samuel chapter 6. Uzzah thought his hand was more pure than the dirt. And this is what the Lord says. I mean, this is the Ark of the Covenant, this most sacred thing. You're not supposed. You put a tarp over it so you can't even look at it lest you touch it.
But they're in a tough situation. It shouldn't have been on a cart, but because it is.
And then it starts falling. What are you going to do?
Yeah, you're going to just stand there and watch it, be like, can't touch it.
Yeah, but one bad choice leads to another. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and he struck him down because he put out his hand to the ark, and he died there before the Lord. And David was angry because the Lord had broken out against Uzzah, and that place was called Perez Uzzah to this day. And again, right, a lot of these words mean things. So if you look at your footnote in the ESV, Perazazah means breaking out against Uzzah. So this place, what's this place called? Oh, it's breaking out against Uzzah. This is the place Uzzah touched the ark. And David was afraid of God that day, and he said, how can I bring the ark of God home to me? So David did not take the ark home into the city of David, but took it aside to the house of Obed-Edom, the Gittite. And the ark of God remained with the household of Obed-Edom in his house 3 months, and the Lord blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that he had. So there, I mean, there's a simple story, right, of Uzzah touching the ark. You can elaborate on that a little bit more in chapter 13 for what you want. But it's supposed to be a day of great joy, and it turned out to be a day of disaster and death. Parallel to 2 Samuel chapter 6 might be good to kind of put at the beginning of chapter 13. And we're going to see a lot of parallel stories between 1 Chronicles here and 2 Samuel, where the story of David is told.
A lot is repeated.
Yep. Okay, we'll pick up on Psalms on the weekend, looking at Psalm 81, 82, and then we'll be back in 1 Chronicles on Monday. We will see you then. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.